What's up guys, it's Zero here, and today I have for you the second video about Kagero. I honestly don't care if people want to see it or not. I figured I might as well do it anyways, because I'm not going to do a whole lot of deck profiles for this set, just because I didn't pull much of anything, nor did I have mats ready. Expect Link Joker, but don't expect that until the end of next season, because I don't own a single Garnet Star yet. But yeah, regardless, this is the second build. You can kind of consider this like a part 2, an alternate build to how to play how to build Perdition. So yeah, without further ado, here is the list. Alright, just give it a sec. Okay, so this is the list, so you can clearly see that it's quite different. You're actually playing new cards in this deck. So first thing you'll notice, I'm not playing Novell. I'll get that away now. I don't think in a list like this it's as important to play it, because in a list like this, your only Persona Blast is the Dragonute. In my other list, you had 2 Persona Blasts, so you had 2 cards that you could have dug for. The Novell really helped the consistency with that. With this, I don't think it's as needed, just because with the Dragonute, you do have 6 targets, being the grade 2 and the grade 3, so I think that is honestly enough. You have 4 filters in the deck to try to dig for those, and you have other ways to also clear the front row. With this deck's case, it's the old Overlord, which I think is pretty nice to have. So yeah, and not running Novell also means you don't have to play the Roman, which ends up being a vanilla a lot of the times if you don't have the Novell Vog in hand. And Novell Vog itself is also a brick because it's a grade 4. So because it's a grade 4, unless you ride into it, you cannot call it to rear, and once you ride into the Novell Vog, you cannot ride back into a Legion, because you cannot ride a lower grade, because Novell is a grade 4. Once you ride grade 4, you can only ride up or same grade. So yeah, well, that's why I don't play it in this list. I said in my other video that I think that list is better. I still think that list has a much higher ceiling, which I do think makes it better, because this clan is high roll garbage no matter how you look at it. So might as well maximize your high rolls, right? But this deck definitely has a lower ceiling, but I'd say it also has a slightly higher floor, because with that list, if you like dig and grab your dotes and then don't draw another dote after that, and you just kind of sit there, the list is also a lot heavier on counterblast, meaning if you don't draw your velocities, you're just kind of starved on counterblast a lot of times. But to each their own. But I think both lists are fine. This is the list that plays multiple Legion and does not play the Novell. So without further ado, I'll get on with the cards, although you have seen most of these cards in the last video, but in case you did not see the last video, I'll go over them anyways. I'll probably take a little less time on these. So obviously, starter is the Conroe. Conroe is the best starter for Kagero, well, arguably one of the best starters in the game. There is no reason not to play it. Fetches you PGs, can fetch you the Gojo sometimes, can get you Counter Charger, can get you this thing to drop a card to grab an Overlord for game. Yeah, it's pretty good. PG, again, doesn't matter. You can play whatever PG you want. This one looks the coolest to me, so I play this one. Gojo, tap self, filter. Again, since this deck does play 8 Legion, I think this is a lot more important, because not only does this help you get rid of the extra trash and triggers in your hand, it also helps you set up for Legion a lot better than other cards you may or may not play. I think Cursey sucks. I think its filter condition is terrible, because your opponent can actively play around it if they don't want to. They might inadvertently play around the filter condition by playing around the Dragon, by not giving you grade 2s to kill with it. So yeah. That's why I wouldn't play Cursey over Gojo. Gojo just gives you also do him every turn. Yeah, that's better for Gojo. We are playing 4 of the hand charges in this list, and that is because this list actually has cards that are retired by skill other than Dragonute. This deck is playing the 4 Pain Laser and 4 of his mate, which all retire by skill, so you can actually use this card. Soul Blast stuff out. Get extra stuff in drop for Legion and counter at the same time. It's pretty okay, pretty good. I definitely do think a list like this can actually make use of this card, the counter charger, unlike the other lists, so I think this is actually good for him. And because you don't have to play the Novell Roman, you actually have space for it now, so yeah, pretty. In a list like this card is actually pretty good. And then lastly, it is the something Bringer Griffin, I think. But this skill is on play, you can discard a grade 3 to search for a Dragonic Overlord. So obviously we're not playing the Breaker in this deck, so the only target is this Dragonic Overlord. It's a 1-up for a reason. It's just there because I don't think there's anything else that's better to play. This card can help you dig for 1. Can just help you dig for Overlord for game, which is cool if you just haven't had this. Or if you redrew your Conroe, if you after Legioning it back, you can like search this and then use this to dump a grade 3 to search the Overlord, which is cool. It can come up, stuff like that can come up sometimes. Yeah, it is an okay one. It can also help you set up drop for Legion. You could play this down, drop down an extra grade 3, switch the Dio, and then filter the Dio out with the Gojo. You could do that, but honestly, unless you really need an extra card and drop, I would not do this or something like that. But it's there as an option. So yeah, that's it for grade 1s, grade 2s. The 1-up Bellicosity. The reason this is the 1-up in this list instead of like a 4-up and most other lists is that because I'm playing this countercharger. So this one lets me make space for other cards to play in the deck, and so therefore I don't have to play as much Bellicosity. It's still a nice 1-up to have. You don't draw Striking, it's your ideal ride, so you have 5 good rides. These cards, the other cards you ideally would not like to ride, so yeah. Honestly, Counterblast isn't that much of a concern in this deck a lot of the times, because if you really need to use like 3 Bellicosity, that game probably went on for too long to begin with, so yeah. I do think 4 grade 1s plus the Bellicosity is enough countercharge in this deck. Next off, Striking. This is definitely your best ride. Very good tempo, a very good tempo swing, lets you not commit cards on a turn and then still get the damage back later. 10k based on rear 2, pretty good, just a good card in general. And you've been playing this card since it came out, you're still gonna play it. So, yeah. Next up is the mate to the Dragon Newt, 12k attacker, if you're Vanguard's Perdition, which should be all the time in this deck, because you should be on Newt or Pain Laser at all times. If you're on DO or if you're on the fucking 1-up Blazing Flare, you've probably lost the game if you're stuck on those cards. So yeah. This card's basically always 12k based on turn grade 3. And then finally, the Menace Laser. This is the mate to the Pain Laser. So his skill is on play CV2 to retire a card in the same column as it. So you place it on the right, you only snipe stuff in that column. So your opponent's, I guess it'd be your opponent's left. So whatever's in front of it, you snipe back row or front row. So basically, this card is a Berserk Dragon, but it cannot kill the Vanguard booster, pretty much. So yeah. I guess it can if you put it behind the Vanguard, but I don't think there's any Vanguard booster that's worth putting an intercept behind your Vanguard and then also just paying 2 kind less to kill. So and I guess if it comes up, it comes up. Like if your opponent didn't use a Conroe, I guess you might want to try killing it like that, but that probably isn't working to begin with. Actually, I guess if it's a Conroe, it probably would be worth it, but still. So yeah, but importantly, he is the mate to the Pain Laser. That's why we do play 4 of this card, and just because it's a retire 2, so that's pretty nice. Honestly, I think Berserk Dragon probably is a better card than the Menace Laser, but again, he's the mate to the Pain Laser, so obviously you played this over the Berserk Dragon. But if you were playing like spot removal, if you're just playing spot removal and you had to choose between this and Berserk because you're only playing like one Pain Laser in the deck, you could just play Berserk instead. Like it's not the biggest difference, but it is something to note that I do think Berserk is a little more flexible than the Menace Laser, so yeah. Onwards to grade 3s. First off, Dragon Newt. Legion of 12k attacker. When you're in Legion, once per turn, CV2, Persona discard to kill 2 grade 2 or lower rears on the opponent's side of the field, and then ping your opponent for 1, or damage your opponent for 1, whatever you want to call it, and then that damage cannot be, and that damage ignores triggers. And then something retire plus 3k. It's still the best card in the deck. Newt itself is just a really strong card, so yeah, definitely, like, no matter how you build your Kagero decks now, Newt and his mate, plus 4 PGs and Conroe are the cards that you will always see in every list, at least every competent list at least, so yeah. Newt is definitely the staple card in the deck right now, that should be in every list, yeah. And then, I'll go over the other little quotes first. Heal triggers, Dragonic Overlord, CV3, plus 5k, neck 2 drive, and then, on hit to rear, he restands. So clears the front row. He's been doing it since set 1. He's now doing it at 20. Still a very good card. So yeah, well, you definitely would not. I definitely wouldn't. If I'm not playing Novell, I definitely would just play the Overlord. You know, other people might play Dote. I think that's really wrong. I think DO is a much better choice to have on heal. So yeah, definitely 4 DOs in my opinion. Should be a kill if you're not playing the Novell. And then the one I'll go over this first is the Blazing Flare Dragon. So this card is really bad, honestly, but in this list he does have some uses. So we'll go over the skill that basically never comes up first. Is the Vanguard Rear Soul Blast 4 to retire a card. Soul Blast 4 is just too steep. You're also using your soul for the counter charger now. If you weren't using this and you just happen to have 4 soul, this could come up. I think it's happened. I think it's come up for me like once. So it's not like it never comes up. It just doesn't come up very often. But the reason we do play it as a Lamasaurus first skill, when something is retired by a Cardfight plus 3k. So very important is that this card hits exactly. If Newt gets to retire 2 cards, he hits exactly 16, which is exactly enough to hit over the the trigger null the damage defensive shield. So this card is a solo attacker on a newt turn when they're at 4. So for example, if like, let's say you're on newt, they're at 4, double intercept, you clear both your intercepts while the bleeding force on the board, you ping them, trigger is null, so if they're not on crosshair base or anything like that, they're at 16. Right? Now this thing hits 16 by itself, meaning you don't need a booster for the blazing flare, and then you just need one booster plus something that scales with it on the other side to get the triple check from 4. So pretty cool applications. If this card's Soul Blast was like cheaper, I probably would play it over Overload just because it's a non-counter blast way to retire. But for now, it looks like since he's Soul Blast 4, I do just play this at 1-up just as an option to have. It's a card you don't really mind drawing too late into the game too, so it's an okay 1-up. Other ones you could play like Dauntless, I guess, but I don't really like Dauntless in this deck. So, and then finally, the card that I've never talked about yet, not this first video, not yet in this one, the Pain Laser. So Legion with the Menace Laser, the CV2 attire, and then on Legions, this is an on Legion skill. CV1 to choose a card in a column and retire both cards in that column. And second skill is when something's retired plus 3k. So this card is CV1 to retire 2. So that if you don't know how this card interacts with the counter charger, if you have the counter charger and then 2 cards you retire in that column, you can actually proc the counter charger twice. So if you had 2 face down damage at this time, you can unflip 2 for only counter blasting 1. So if you use this with the counter charger and you get to retire 2, you actually do get to counter charge 1, which is really cool. But the worst thing about this card is that it is. Oh, one more thing to note is that if you choose a card and the other card in that column has resist, you actually get over the resist and you can retire that card. So for example, let's just take like whatever starter that has resist. If your opponent has like an intercept in front of it and then their starter with the resist behind it, you can actually target the intercept in the front, and Pain Laser will retire the starter in the back as well, because you're not specifically choosing the starter as the target. So that's how this card can't actually get around resist in some ways, which is pretty cool. Yeah, and but the bad thing with this card is that it's an on-Legion skill. So you do it once, and then you have to re-Legion at some point to do something else, or play vanilla and then ending your Dio, which is I guess. So yeah, this is definitely just a backup ride and a way to end the game if you only have one counter. If you just happen to only have one counter blast. So yeah, not the best card, but it's an okay backup ride for now. So yeah. So this is the list for the 8 Legion deck. Tell me guys what you think about it down below in the comments. Like and subscribe, look at stuff. Some games for you guys after this as per usual, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.